Most people are often quite surprised when they discover just how affordable owning an investment property can be. Allow me to explain. So how much does it cost to own an investment property? I'm going to give you a quick rundown based on a $400,000 new property. So with owning an investment property, there's expenses incurred. These are expenses like loan repayments, council rates, insurances, property management fees, and with Ozinvest there's also a leaseback fee. Now, one thing I can tell you from experience is that most of these expenses on a $400,000 new property would total around about $31,000 per year. So yes, it is expensive to own an investment property. However, there's also income associated to owning an investment property. So where does that income come from? The biggest source of income for an investment property comes from the tenant. And for a property like this, you'd expect perhaps around $20,000 a year in rental income from the tenant. So your biggest portion of your expenses is going to be covered by the tenant who's living in the house. Now with Ozinvest, that rental income is guaranteed for the next 10 years. So even if the house was to sit vacant, or if the tenant doesn't pay their rent on time, you'll still get your full complement of rent on the 10th of the month, every month for the next 10 years. That's got to make you feel more comfortable. So who else is going to help pay the bills? Well, the taxman will also help put money towards your investment property. About $6,000 per year based on a new property. Now, of course, these are rough numbers and might vary depending on your tax bracket and the exact details of the property you purchase, but they're a good guideline. But the one thing a lot of people don't understand about the tax returns is that you don't have to wait until the end of financial year and lodge your tax return to get that money back from the tax department. You can lodge what's known as an income tax withholding variation and get that tax back in your pay packet each week. So therefore, if you're currently losing, say, $200 per week to the taxman, you would then only lose about $85 per week to the taxman. So you would retain that additional $115 per week in your pay packet. That then leaves the owner to kick in the last, say, $5,000 a year, or $100 per week. Now this is where a lot of people get stuck. They figure, what's the point of owning an investment property if it's going to cost me money each week? But what do you think this property might be worth in 10 years' time? Now the easiest way to look at that is think about what properties were selling for 10 years ago. Now if you'd told someone 10 years ago their property would be worth more than double by 2010, would they believe you? So what do you think this property might be worth in 10 years' time? Could you assume that it would double again in value in 10 years' time, say worth about $800,000? It's possible. However, this property is costing you about $5,000 per year to hold, or $50,000 over the next 10 years. So if you subtract this amount and the price you paid for it from the $800,000, you're left with $350,000 in growth. Now let's look at a worst case scenario. What if this property took, say, 12 or even 15 years to double in value? Is it a disaster? Not at all. A plan is better than no plan at all. So $100 per week to own an investment property. Now I know a lot of people who pay more than that on their car loan each week. And what's their car going to be worth in 10 years' time? Certainly not as much as an investment property. So I think you'll agree that owning an investment property is far more achievable than you might have first thought. And with Ozinvest, don't forget that the rent is guaranteed for 10 years. And with brand new properties, there's maximum taxation benefits. If you'd like any more information, feel free to speak to the team at Ozinvest.